Before kingdoms rose and empires carved their names into history, there lived a man whose wisdom surpassed legends, whose power reshaped the fate of nations, and whose name echoed across heaven and earth: Solomon, the last king of the wise. But what the world remembers is only a fragment of the truth. This story begins long before the Chronicles were written, in a time when the sacred ring of dominion was still hidden beneath the Temple of Light, a relic said to contain knowledge from the angels themselves, a relic capable of bending spirits, commanding demons, and revealing the deepest mysteries of creation. For centuries, it remained sealed, waiting for the one deemed worthy. But when Solomon discovered the ring, the heavens trembled, and the shadows awakened. Witness the rise of a king, blessed with unparalleled intellect, yet burdened with a destiny far darker than prophecy foretold. Watch the ancient world fracture as the battle for the sacred ring unleashes forces no kingdom can control. Is wisdom enough to protect a man from the seduction of limitless power? Or will the ring consume the very soul it was meant to crown? You're about to step into a forgotten chapter of ancient history. A tale of miracles, betrayals, celestial warnings, and the final struggle between divine purpose and human desire. If this story captivates you, like the video, subscribe, and comment below. Would you trust yourself with the power of the sacred ring? The desert winds swept across the ancient lands of Israel as dawn broke over Jerusalem, painting the horizon with hues of gold and burning amber. High above the city stood the palace of King Salomon, the last king of the wise line, a ruler whose name whispered through the centuries with reverence and awe. His wisdom was unmatched, his judgments legendary, and his connection to the divine deeper than even the prophets could fully understand. Yet on this particular morning, as the dawn lit the marble floors of his chamber, Solomon felt an unfamiliar weight press against his spirit, the stirring of a destiny long concealed. Solomon awoke before the sun touched the temple roof. The palace was silent, except for the soft rustle of incense coils near his window. The king rose and stepped toward the balcony, overlooking the city. The streets, the walls, the temple, all stood peaceful. Yet something in the air felt unsettled. A pulse, a vibration, as if the land itself waited for a sign. He closed his eyes and breathed deeply. Even at rest, Solomon radiated quiet authority, tall, broad-shouldered, with sharp eyes that held both kindness and impossible intelligence. His robes shimmered faintly with blue and gold thread, not from wealth, but from enchantments woven by the priests of the temple, protections meant only for a king chosen by heaven. Solomon placed a hand on the stone railing and whispered, "The time is near." The voice had spoken to him in dreams for weeks, ancient, resonant, neither male nor female. It warned of a power returning to the world, something sealed away since the days of his ancestors. He turned as a figure approached, Benaiah, commander of his guard, and one of the few people Solomon trusted without hesitation. "My king," Benaiah said, bowing, "the high priest requests your presence at the temple. He says the signs you spoke of, they have begun."
What is it that is constant,
Solomon
yet
did not
brings
respond
joy
immediately.
and sorrow, and without
Instead,
it,
he looked past
nothing.
Benaiah, his gaze fixed on a golden object resting on a pedestal, the sacred ring. The ring had been passed down through the bloodline of the wise kings, said to hold a fragment of divine authority. Legends claimed it allowed its bearer to command the spirits and see truth beyond mortal perception. But Solomon had never used it. Until now. "Prepare a chariot," he said calmly. "We go to the temple."
King Solomon facing
The journey
great
through
shadow,
Jerusalem was
protected
solemn.
by the
Citizens
sacred ring.
watched from doorways as their king passed, sensing a shift in the air. Even the animals seemed uneasy. When Solomon reached the temple steps, the priests were waiting, robes white, faces pale with fear. Inside the holy chamber, High Priest Zadok stepped forward. "My king, the veil trembles. The seal that has never moved for 1,000 years. It quakes." SALOMON entered the chamber's center. The air was thick, vibrating like a harp string pulled too tight. At the far end of the room, a massive stone slab engraved with celestial runes stood glowing faintly. The Veil of Solomon, a sacred barrier that protected the world from forces mankind was not meant to encounter. Suddenly, the chamber shook violently, dust raining from the ceiling. The glow of the veil turned crimson, flashes of light erupting from its cracks. The priests fell to their knees, some praying, others trembling. SALOMON alone stood firm. His eyes reflected the storm inside the veil, swirling shadows and golden fire. A whisper drifted from the stone. "SALOMON, bearer of the sacred ring, open the path." The ground thundered as new fractures raced across the veil. One more tremor, and it would shatter, releasing whatever waited behind it. The king stepped forward with steady breaths. Fear had no place in him. The divine wisdom that shaped his bloodline guided his thoughts. "The prophecy," Zadok whispered, "has come upon us." SALOMON raised his hand. The sacred ring ignited with golden fire, illuminating the chamber. "Reveal," he commanded, and the veil exploded in a storm of light. What emerged was not a creature nor a demon, but a radiant torrent of memories, visions of ancient kings, forgotten wars, and a celestial pact made before time etched itself into the world. SALOMON staggered backward as the knowledge pierced his mind. He saw the first wise king forging a covenant with the celestial realm. He saw the sacred ring created from a shard of divine essence. He saw a great darkness sealed behind the veil, a darkness that had now awakened. When the visions ended, SALOMON fell to his knees, breathing hard. The chamber was silent. The veil was gone, and the darkness beyond it was free. "My king!" Benaiah called out, rushing to his side. "What have you seen?" SALOMON rose slowly, eyes glowing with new understanding and fear. "A storm is coming," he said. "A darkness older than our people, a force that seeks the ring. And if it gains it, the age of wisdom will end." Benaiah swallowed. "What must we do?" The king looked toward the temple doors, toward the rising sun beyond them. "We prepare," he said, "for the enemy has awakened, and it is coming for us." The wind over Jerusalem carried an unfamiliar chill, a whispering unease that brushed against the stone walls of Solomon's palace like fingers searching for entry. The great king, renowned across continents for his unparalleled wisdom, noticed it long before anyone else. Wisdom was not merely knowledge. It was perception, intuition, and the ability to hear the subtle tremors of destiny before they became earthquakes. And tonight, destiny was whispering. Solomon stood alone in the Hall of Cedars, his silhouette framed by moonlit columns, the sacred ring resting heavily on his right hand. Forged under divine instruction and marked with celestial sigils, the ring granted him dominion over spirits, shadows, and the unseen forces that lingered between heaven and earth. It was both a blessing and a burden, a crown made not of gold, but of power and responsibility. But tonight, the ring pulsed, not with its usual steady glow, but with an irregular flicker, as if responding to something approaching from the darkness. A soft rumble echoed across the palace grounds. Solomon turned sharply. This was not
Stay
thunder.
alert, men.
This was a voice,
The temple
a
holds
deep,
many
ancient
secrets.
one, vibrating
Watch the
through the
shadows.
stones beneath his feet. Then he heard it, a knock, not at the door of the hall, but inside his mind. A rhythmic, deliberate tapping, like claws striking the inner walls of his thoughts. Solomon inhaled sharply. A demon was calling his name. Before he could react, a gust of black wind tore through the hall, extinguishing every torch in an instant. The darkness thickened, forming into the shape of a towering figure, horned, cloaked in shadow, with eyes glowing like dying embers trapped in a furnace.
The star of the
Solomon,
ring.
King of the wise, the figure growled, voice stretching through the chamber like cracking stone. The throne you sit on was never meant to remain in your hands. Solomon did not flinch. Name yourself. The creature stepped forward, revealing a muscular frame forged from smoke and ancient earth. I am Avar Ghul, Shadow King of the Abyss, the one your ancestors sealed beneath the desert sands, the one who now rises because of the ring you wear. At that moment, the sacred ring began to burn against Solomon's skin. He clenched his fist, refusing to show pain.
Tell me,
You
is
were
the golden
sealed for a
altar prepared
reason,
for the morning
Solomon
sacrifice?
replied
Yes, Your
calmly.
Majesty.
By command of heaven
incense burns
itself.
brightly before the veil.
Avar Ghul laughed,
the Lord accept
a
this
sound
offering,
so
Zadok?
loud the
The
ceiling
smoke
beams
rises
trembled.
pure.
He hears the prayers
Heaven
of Israel,
sealed
my
me
king.
because they
His
feared me.
presence fills this house.
But you,
Is
Solomon,
the Lord pleased with
you
our
invited
offering,
me.
High Priest? Should we
Every
proceed with
command
the
you
judgment?
made
The
with that
smoke
sacred
rises
ring
favorably,
weakened
my
the
king.
boundary.
The path
Each
is
spirit
clear.
you bound loosened the chains that held me. Solomon's eyes widened. The realization struck like lightning.
Tower
The
reaches
ring
the
didn't
heavens,
simply grant dominion,
but the foundation
it demanded
must be
balance.
pure.
Power taken must always
to
be
us,
paid
Solomon.
for. And now, the debt had come due. The Shadow King extended a clawed hand. Surrender the ring, mortal king. Do this,
I trust the journey
and
was
I
not
shall
too
spare
taxing,
your
Majesty.
city.
We are honored by your
Solomon
presence.
straightened his
The
back.
journey was long, King Solomon.
My throne is built on wisdom, not fear. I do not bargain with the abyss. Avar Ghul smiled chillingly. Then you shall watch your kingdom drown in shadows. With a roar, the demon unleashed a wave of darkness that surged across the hall like liquid night. Solomon raised his ring-bearing hand, and the sigils upon it erupted in golden fire, forming a divine barrier that split the darkness in two. The collision shook the palace, sending shockwaves rolling across the city. But Avar Ghul was not deterred. You cannot defeat me alone, Solomon, but there is one who can. Summon him. Solomon's heart quickened. He knew who the demon meant. Archangel Raphael. But summoning an archangel required a ritual so ancient, so sacred, that even Solomon had feared attempting it. Yet the kingdom's fate hung in the balance. He thrust his ring forward again, light spiraling outward to hold the demon at bay. "Be gone from my hall," Solomon commanded. "Your presence is forbidden." Avar Ghul snarled but retreated into smoke, his final words echoing like thunder rolling through a tomb. "Summon your angel, king.
I must know the truth
Without him,
behind your power.
You will fall."
Answer me now.
The hall fell silent. Solomon collapsed to
Authority
one
of the
knee,
ring
breathing
bearer
hard.
is acknowledged.
The ring dimmed, but its heat remained,
beware.
like a reminder that time was running out. Moments later, his most trusted advisor, Benaiah, burst into the chamber with guards. "My king! We felt the tremor, heard the roar. What happened?" Solomon forced himself to stand. "The abyss has awakened. A demon king has risen, and he seeks the ring." Benaiah's eyes widened with fear. "Then we must flee. Gather the people." "No." Solomon raised a steady hand. "We stand. We fight, but not with swords, with divine truth." He approached an ancient scroll sealed in gold, resting within a stone alcove. This scroll contained the forbidden ritual, the one path to summon Raphael, the healer of heaven and the defender of kings. But opening it meant binding himself to a destiny he could never reverse. Solomon placed the scroll on the altar. "Prepare the sacred chamber. Tonight, we call upon heaven." Hours later, deep in the inner sanctum of the palace, a circle of golden symbols glowed under Solomon's feet. Incense burned in the corners. Priests chanted ancient words that shook the air. Solomon lifted his right hand, the sacred ring blazing like a miniature sun. "Archangel Raphael," he declared, "I call upon your light. I call upon your healing flame. I call upon your
Honor
sword
and
that
guests,
divides truth from
rise.
corruption. Descend now,
Your journey has
or
been
heaven
long.
itself may lose this world. Lightning exploded from the ring, striking the air before him. The sanctum erupted in storming winds.
He is mine,
Clouds
Your
formed
Majesty.
indoors.
She
A
stole
pillar
him
of
from
blinding
my
white
arms.
fire
Do not
descended,
believe
shaking
her, my
the earth.
lord. I am
And
the
from
true
within
mother.
it, wings, massive, radiant, unfurling like a sunrise breaking through night. Raphael stepped forward, armor shining, eyes burning with righteous fire. Solomon, he spoke, voice resonant and calm. You have summoned me. Tell me, what darkness rises? Solomon bowed his head. The Shadow King has returned, and he wants the ring. Raphael's wings lifted slightly, tension flickering across his divine face. Then the war your ancestors once fought, he whispered, has come again. Dawn broke over the desert with a pale, mournful light as King Solomon stood upon the high balcony of his palace, the warm wind carrying the scent of distant sands and forgotten secrets. Below him, Jerusalem pulsed with restless energy. Markets reopened, soldiers patrolled, and thousands of citizens whispered the same fearful question: what happened to the sacred ring? Even after reclaiming his throne, Solomon knew peace was only an illusion. Without the ring, his bond with the spiritual realm was weakened, and the demons once commanded by his authority now stirred freely in the shadows.
The celestial
He could
spheres
feel their
align.
presence, hidden,
This knowledge
waiting,
has been hidden for
watching.
centuries. The pattern
But something else
repeats.
lingered too. A faint echo of power, as if the ring still called out to him from beyond the physical world. That morning, as the city slowly
Mars
awakened,
is conjunct
a
with
messenger
Saturn
raced up
here.
the palace steps.
What does the
breathless.
prophecy foretell?
My king, the night sky split open above the valley of Hinnom. A pillar of black fire rose from the ground. The people say the demons have returned. Solomon's
You will
eyes
reign
narrowed.
with wisdom.
He knew exactly what
if
it
your
meant.
heart remains true.
Ashmedai, the demon king who stole the ring, was not finished. What terrified Solomon wasn't the idea of facing Ashmedai again, but the possibility that the demon had unlocked new secrets of the ring's power. Prepare my horse, Solomon commanded, and summon the circle of the wise. We ride immediately. Within an hour, Solomon and his most trusted scholars galloped across the desert, their cloaks whipping in the wind. The valley soon appeared before them, a vast scar in the earth, surrounded by scorched stones. Shadows twisted unnaturally across the ground. Then they heard it. A deep, rhythmic humming, almost like chanting. Solomon dismounted, gripping his staff as he approached the valley's center. There, floating above a blackened altar, hung the sacred ring. But it was corrupted, glowing not with golden brilliance, but with dark crimson fire. Behind it stood Ashmedai, towering, monstrous, and adorned in jagged armor forged from ancient obsidian. His voice echoed in the valley like thunder striking water. You came sooner than expected, son of David. Solomon held his ground. The ring was never yours to wield. Release it or face judgment.
The line.
Ashmedai laughed, a terrible echoing sound. Judgment? You speak as though you still possess the authority. Without the ring, you are merely a man with memories of greatness. Solomon raised his staff, and the ground trembled. I do not need the ring to stand against darkness. The demon king grinned, revealing teeth like serrated stone. Good.
By the flame
Then
and
prove
the
it.
flood, by the
With a
ancient
roar,
blood,
Ashmedai unleashed a
reveal
wave
thy
of dark
truth to
energy.
me.
Solomon countered instantly,
live the king.
striking the earth with his staff. Light exploded
May the Lord
outward,
bless you,
forming
my
a barrier
people.
that rippled like liquid gold. The two
God
forces
save the
collided,
king.
sending shock waves
Long live
across
the
the
king.
valley. Sand erupted into the air. Stones shattered. Solomon stumbled, feeling darkness claw at his spirit. Ashmedai had grown far stronger than before. Still, the ring floated behind the demon, pulsing with an almost sorrowful rhythm. It reacted to Solomon's presence, flickering like a dying flame longing for its rightful master. Suddenly, Solomon understood. The ring was
Lord,
not corrupted.
A strange
It was
star has
resisting
appeared
corruption.
directly above the palace. We must
Wise
see it.
king, Ashmedai taunted, the ring
Forgive
chose
Your
me.
Majesty,
It desires
but a
freedom,
strange
freedom
star,
from your dominion,
unlike
your
any
laws,
other,
your
has
order.
appeared directly above the
Solomon
palace.
steadied his breath. No, the ring desires harmony, and harmony cannot exist in the hands of destruction. He lowered his staff and closed his eyes. He whispered the ancient language of creation, the same words once used by angels to shape the foundations of the world. The air shifted, wind spiraled, light gathered. The ring trembled violently. Ashmedai roared in fury. No! He charged forward, claws raised, but golden light suddenly erupted from the ground, encircling Solomon in a pillar of radiance. The sacred ring broke free from Ashmedai's control and shot toward Solomon like a comet streaking across the sky. In one blinding flash, it landed firmly upon Solomon's finger. Power, pure, ancient, limitless, flooded through him. His eyes glowed with divine brilliance. His voice thundered, amplified by the ring. Ashmedai, by the authority of heaven and earth, I banish you back into the shadows. A vortex of light burst from Solomon's hand, engulfing the demon king. Ashmedai shrieked as his form dissolved into swirling black smoke, dragged screaming into a fissure that sealed shut behind him. Silence fell over the valley. The pillar of fire vanished. The sands grew still. Solomon lowered his hand, exhausted, trembling, but victorious. His scholars approached him with awe, bowing deeply. My king, the ring returned to you because you remained worthy. Solomon gazed at the ring, once a symbol of power, now a reminder of responsibility. No, he said quietly. The ring returned because it remembered who I strive to be, not who I was. He looked toward Jerusalem, glowing beneath the morning sun. The age of wisdom is not over, he declared, but wisdom must evolve. Today, I reclaim my throne. Tomorrow, I rebuild the world. As he mounted his horse, the wind carried the faint sound of a distant voice, gentle, warm, almost angelic. Salomon, your wisdom shall restore what was broken. And so, with the sacred ring shining upon his hand once more, King Solomon returned to his people, not only as their ruler, but as the shepherd of a renewed era of light, justice, and harmony. The last king of the wise had risen once again.